Okay. All right. Hello. I am Brother Troy. I'm here with BaBa Hekima. Hello, BaBa Hekima.
Greetings, brother. How you doing?
Greetings. Greetings. Okay. So we're going to welcome you to our series called Everyday Economics, presented by UsLiftingUs. All right. Today is 2017. All right. And welcome back, BaBa Hekima. We always love to have you here. We're trying to do this series at least once a week, hopefully twice. But we're going to go over some basics here today, okay?
All right, brother.
Very good, very good. Always good to have you.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to switch over here. We're going to jump right in here. We're going to go to the question section here. And so the very first question here, BaBa Hekima, is why is collective ownership vital for Black empowerment?
Good question. First of all, I want to affirm that it is vital. When I say vital, I mean that it's absolutely necessary. I really don't feel that there's any such thing as, or any possibility of true Black empowerment for our people unless we develop a group-owned, collectively owned model that's large scale. I guess to get into it, we have been fairly successful in opening and running Black-owned businesses in our community on a small scale. I would think that there were probably hundreds of thousands of Black-owned businesses in the country. Most of them small mom and pop stores, some of them medium-sized, a few of them, a handful, maybe of some scale such that we would say a large-scale enterprise. But certainly no businesses that reach a multinational scale, not from this country. So even though we've had that marginal success in opening and running businesses, and probably the success rate of our businesses are not appreciably different than the success rate of other businesses that are run by other communities. Any element of economics that's big enough and serves as a coordinating function for those who would want to participate in group economics. So we have not, to this point, established the framework for economic empowerment. And so we think it's absolutely necessary for that to occur. An infrastructure, a framework, a platform for economic power. And we feel that that platform must be group-owned, must be a collective, and must be large scale. And that platform that's capable of aggregating billions of dollars for our development and serving as a synergizer, a catalyst, existing alongside and in tandem with the other things that we're doing in community. We say that that's vital, that that element exists, that that component to our economic growth, empowerment exists because right now there's a void. In the other aspects of economics in this country and in the world, there is generally, if there is an interest group that has pooled their resources and concentrated their efforts in developing economic empowerment, they also have developed a platform within that family of businesses and other structures, a coordinating, a finance element, something around which that economy, that sub-economy, that alternative economy holds itself together. In the Black community, by default, we end up, the chambers of commerce, the banks, the insurance companies that for the most part are owned outside of our community, they serve as that coordinating element or function, and it's not intended to serve us. It's intended to serve elements in the broader economic community that is intent on dominating our community and exploiting our people and our financial resources, our labor, and essentially everything that we are and have been as a people. That's the first stab at the answer. I'm sure you'll have additional points for clarity.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for going over that in detail. Is what do you mean when you talk about a new Black economy?
Well, there is no economic empowerment outside or apart from you controlling your own economy. Now, when we refer to Black Wall Street or to Haiti or to Harlem or to Mount Bayou in Mississippi or Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, talk about the turn of the beginning of the end of the 18th and the beginning of the 19th centuries. When we talk about those communities of business excellence that we built, those were small, isolated economies in which we did business with each other. So in order for us to be powerful and economically secure in the 21st century and going forward, it's necessary that our business activity, much of it, takes place within our own economy that we control, that we manipulate, that we have a steering mechanism and controls, elements that we control. And so when we talk about the new Black economy, we're talking about the necessity of once again bringing into concrete existence business structure and other institutions that are a part of a dynamic system. And on our website at UsLiftingUs.com, there's one slide that says, the title is Garvey's Return. And there are 6 elements there that people can study that we conclude are the 6 elements of the new Black economy. And so it's not just Black businesses. Again, let's use Black Wall Street as an example in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The screenshot that you're doing is not there. It's the
yeah, I'm showing that
with the whirlwind, Garvey's Return. But when we exchanged and did business with each other in Durham, North Carolina, at the turn of the century, or with in Tulsa at the turn of the century, we did business with each other within a social container. There were no brick walls, there were no fences, but there was a container, a cultural, social container that had economic dimensions as well. So that's the Garvey's Return. So what we are saying in ULU is that for us to be empowered in the future, we must create that container. that sphere of economic activity that's broad, that's large scale, and that's owned, controlled, manipulated, orchestrated by us. That's not to say that it would be purely only us, but some major, some significant aspects of that economy would be controlled by us. And so when we talk about this new paradigm, the new Black economy, what we're suggesting to brothers and sisters in this country and around the world, that it's absolutely necessary that we go beyond thinking of building businesses of at any particular scale, but that we also understand that it's necessary to bring those individual businesses within the sphere and orbit of what it means to intentionally build and sustain an economy. Now, Garvey's return, you remember, Brother Troy, when Garvey made his statement about he would return in the whirlwind.
Yes.
That was from the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary right here in Atlanta. And so it's very fitting that we use the graphics of a twister, of a whirlwind, because what they really represent are economic turns. And the stronger and tighter those turns are, the more volume that it has, the stronger that vortex, that dynamic force is. And so we liken the turns in a tornado to the turns in an economy. And we know that in a tornado or any cyclonic weather phenomenon, if those turns are not tight, if they're not cyclical, and that if the energy goes out in parallel, at some point, the whole thing collapses and it ceases to be a power force. Same thing as in the economy. And if you own a Black business and I own a Black business and several of us own a Black business, and we simply tout success from what you do and what I do, but we're not in tandem, we're not supporting each other as businesses, and the households in the community are not also involved in that, the factories are not involved in that, the firms are not involved in that. And so what you have is, what we have now is solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small businesses, mom and pop businesses, everybody doing their own thing. And there is not a strong system. There is a weak system. I mean, we don't give ourselves credit enough. We do business with each other. We do support each other. And, but it's weak because the institutions of white supremacy and domination are all in between us. And so we have to intentionally create those spirals, for instance, I'll give you a good example. Here in Atlanta, if you pay attention, you'll see a Jamaican restaurant here and a Jamaican restaurant here and a Jamaican restaurant there. If you stay there long enough, you'll see a Jamaican wholesaler pull up and deliver goods. You don't typically see that in the African American community. You don't see wholesalers. You don't see suppliers that are also of the same community fill in those gaps. For instance, a good example would be, let's say you take 10, 15, or 20 restaurants. Let's say all of them cut lettuce and tomatoes and onions. But there is no coordination in most cases, such that there would be one business that would cut lettuce, tomatoes, and onions, and bell peppers and what, and supply everybody else. That's a new startup business. And so when you're thinking about an economy, then there is central planning, there's strategy, there's collusion, there is everything that needs to happen for there to be people on the same page and of the same mind. And so it's not enough for us to open new businesses and to support those businesses. There has to be a synergy, and it can't be accidental. It has to be purely intentional, and you have to have at least one or maybe several institutions that are involved in managing that synergy. And so we think it's vital that we go beyond Buy Black and definitely go beyond this discussion about withdrawing our economic support. You can't withdraw your economic support. You can target a business or two, but you got to live. So you got to spend the money in the economy. And when you don't have a big enough economy, a vibrant enough economy that you control yourself, then you got to get those needed goods, products, and services from wherever it is making them available. So when we say the new Black economy, we're saying in no uncertain terms that it's less than correct to think that we would be empowered inside someone else's economy without having developed a secondary or an alternative economy. Again, it's still inside of another. Every economy is inside of another economy, with the one exception of a global economy. The European economy is a part of a larger economy that involves other people. And so, for instance, and maybe this is redundant, when in most Black communities or in most cities and towns, when we point to the Koreans, for instance, and we talk about their business success, we don't often acknowledge that their success is tied to the fact that they have created a sub-economy. It's not just individual businesses. There are factors, cultural, other kinds of things that are orchestrated that make that a sub-economy. We have to understand. We have to understand and build on that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Hekima. Hopefully you can hear me fine, but
I can hear you through the phone.
Good, okay.
Hey, I think we should kind of bring that up again. Also, just kind of go over that point to where is what ULU will do. UsLiftingUs will connect. Like you said, we have a bunch of solopreneurs.
So this will allow us to connect everyone together. Now, that's something I think most Black people, especially entrepreneurs, they realize that we don't have.
Well,
I like the part about the sub-economy because like you said, everyone can be the largest, the American or the Brazilian economy. Everyone falls up under the global economy. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Now, for the businesses that are not a part of the ULU umbrella, there may not be any transactional or contractual relationships. You just participate in the same orbit, and as things develop, you'll have synergy because it's to everybody's advantage for a bottom line, their profit line, and there'll be cultural implications and cultural norms established such that people will not only do the right thing for the right reasons in terms of what's good for the people overall, but again, it's good for the bottom line, for their profitability as well.
Very good, very good. So I'm going to move on to the last question here. I'm going to post it real quick. I'm going to read it out to you, okay, BaBa Hekima? Okay, it makes the last question here. So, what are your thoughts on the current Buy Black campaign that seems to be picking up steam?
Yeah, I'm really grateful for this. There's so many websites, so many movements and efforts to get us to focus on doing business with each other. And that's a good thing. That's a necessary thing. It's not sufficient, but it's stronger than it was 10 years ago, or maybe even 15 years ago. And it's getting stronger. And there are more tools being developed, apps, people actually, flash mobs, actually going to businesses and showing love in groups. There's just so much activity, especially among our young people. And I'm grateful and thankful for that. And it makes, it just fits into the strategy overall. And that should continue. But the thinkers among us, the strategic thinkers among us must use that energy and create institutions and platforms that make it more than just a successful Black business. So it really bleeds back into the question that we just dealt with in terms of the Black economy. But without that activity and us beginning to develop a culture of support, then it makes it impossible, more difficult for the synergy to have the kind of impact that we want. But I guess the main thing is that as a part of our culture today is at least lip service and propaganda and instruction around the whole idea of needing to support Black businesses.
Very good, very good. Now, BaBa Hekima, I have one last question. We can either do this last question
or move on. I can read it off to you, or we can just kind of
edit the video.
I'm following your lead.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and knock this one out. And so, what are the essential elements of the ULU economic model?
Well, there are three. First of all, the ULU model is a business model. ULU is a limited liability company with partners, members, and partners around the world. And so the three elements are, number one, an effective system for pooling or aggregating the awesome resources of our people. The second element is an effective way of utilizing our resources to build a powerful business infrastructure that's owned and controlled by our people. And the third element is an effective way or tool of returning major benefits to our people. Paramount among those are jobs, stimulating the economic activity in the local community, charity, profit sharing, and the last one I would mention is dignity or pride, or how we feel about ourselves. In particular, how our youth feel about themselves, their future. And so the three elements, again, is an effective way of pooling our resources, both human and material, an effective way of utilizing our resources to build a powerful business or commercial infrastructure. It's global, but that is owned and controlled by us. And then the third is an effective system for returning major benefits to our people. So those are the three elements. And you can do a lecture around each one of them. But if those three elements are not there, you don't have an opportunity to build an economy. Very good,
very good. Now here is here's a question that and thanks for bringing it down for us. Here's a question here that this kind of comes up all the time. I'm glad you emailed with this question.
You're breaking up on me. I can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me on the phone part?
Yeah, I can hear you now a little better.
Okay, good. Now this question comes up pretty often right here, and I get asked this question all the time, and this is a question specifically for you because with your knowledge and experience and wisdom, you have a better idea, or you have a better way of answering this question here. So this is the fifth one. Is as simple as this: will we need help from the predominantly white institutions to be successful? Now, we get asked this question all the time. So will we, it's as simple as this: will we need help from the predominantly white institutions? To how we, like I said about
I
earlier,
understand.
about the whole self-esteem thing. I think that's very important with Black people because we suffer from a lack of low self-esteem. I'm sorry.
You know, there were over 100 Black towns and in some cases cities that we controlled in the early 1900s. And in some cases, there was assistance from across the tracks. But in most cases, there was no assistance from across the tracks. As a matter of fact, there was opposition. So we succeeded in spite of opposition. The dominant influencers are going to be negative as we build. And if we allow ourselves to be dependent upon help or assistance from across the tracks, then we're going to be vulnerable, and we'll only be as successful as would the vision of others allow for us to be successful. So our question is no. We can be, well, I say yes, we can be successful in building an alternative economy without help from the dominant institutions, whether they be government, financial, political, from the white world. As a matter of fact, if we cannot be successful without them, there is no success, because it is not in their interest that African people establish a solid financial footing.
The only thing about
country,
is this:
in the Western Hemisphere, in the world, and so we must be, and we must calculate and plan our success, utilizing as much as possible resources, both systems and institutions that are under our control. That's not to say that you wouldn't drive your automobile on a highway that's already in place, that you wouldn't use a telephone that's already in place, that you wouldn't use an airplane to get from one place to the other. But in terms of the critical aspects of building the economic infrastructure, we are going to have to be vigilant in terms of defense as we build, and very little time, hopefully, will be spent on some notion that it's in the interest of Europeans and others to fund us. That would be my answer. Greetings.
Okay, that's me. I just want to make sure you heard me.
Oh, I didn't.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, that's a great answer, BaBa Hekima. It's just that, like I said, people 40, 50, and 60 below, most Black people, they've never even seen anything outside, any kind of financial success without, the predominant society. So in their mind, it's hard for people to visualize that. But like I said, that's a great answer.
Well, it's really not. I think sometimes we sell our people short.
Okay.
Now, you know about the Deacons for Defense, right?
Yeah, the movie.
Well, well, it may have been a movie, but it was actual part of our movement, civil rights movement, right?
Okay.
In other words, well, you know about Robert Williams in Monroe, North Carolina, Negroes with Guns. and essentially what I'm saying is that we, those of us who are conscious and trying to build power in the Black community, we do ourselves a disservice by underestimating our people. Many of the brothers and sisters who sit in the Democratic caucuses and also the Republican caucus, who sit in the church, who sit in the Chamber of Commerce, who sit in the Elks, who sit in the lodges, we have to be careful in understanding that in many cases, they're wearing the mask. They're not who they appear to be and who they're painted as. So, so our people, when given other options, will make other choices. And so, so if in other words, if you, James Brown said, if you open, he wants us to open, Europeans to open the door so we can get in. But anyway, I don't know how I came to attach that to the argument. But what I'm basically saying is that a lot of times the rhetoric coming out of our mouths, and even when we write it and pen it, it's not really us. It's just what we think will allow us to get along and make it to the next day. It's the same thing as this old adage that a Black woman will raise a male child that she couldn't marry and would not be satisfied with as a husband, because she's trying to protect that youth, because that Black male, because she knows the perils of living in the society and trying to be a man. And so she almost naturally wants him to be a boy because she wants him to survive. But
wow.
What she's nurturing in that young male, she really doesn't appreciate in a mate. So we're convoluted in that way. But if the sister, the mother, had her way, she would raise him differently. But she's trying, and so our whole population is jaded in that way. We are survivalists. There are people who have been, who have come up against white supremacy and racism and all the violence, who no longer exist on the planet. They're gone. They're wiped out. Part of our survival has been that we would bide our time. We would bite our lips. We would bow. We would scratch our heads. We would do things to survive on the planet and look for another time when we could do what is in our hearts and in our spirits to do. And what is in our hearts and in our spirits to do as African people is to be rulers again. That is a part of us. And sometimes we do ourselves a disservice when we look at a brother or sister, we call them deaf, dumb, and blind. We're not deaf, dumb, and blind. We may pretend to be for survival's sake, but one of the things somebody mentioned to me 2 days ago, he mentioned the fact that 150 cities were burning during the rebellions. Nobody else has done that. The Africans did. The Latinos didn't do it. The white left didn't do it. Those sagging, backwards cap wearing Black males did it. We can minimize our youth, but I say it in this sense, is that the Russians got atomic bombs. The North Koreans may have an atomic bomb. The Jews got atomic bombs, but Black folk have an atomic bomb as well. It is in our culture, and we best not minimize it, and we best not disrespect it, and we best cultivate it and nurture it and build it into the force that it must be. See, because anything that we build, and of course people ask all the time, you're talking about building this, how you going to keep it? You know, how you going to defend it? If it's built with our culture in mind and as a part of our culture, we have built-in defense mechanisms. And so I just don't want us to discount any part of our people.
Excellent point, BaBa Hekima. And once again, this is the reason why I love having you on the show, because of your wisdom and knowledge. And like I said, next time we're gonna get this audio part fixed. We're gonna test it out beforehand. But once again, thank you. And I want to end on that positive note you just said. So I really appreciate it, BaBa Hekima.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you. I want to plug the show here really quick. I'm sorry, there's another broadcast that comes on radio every single week. This is every Thursday, Eastern, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Well, if you would plug also the upcoming summit. There's a page.
You read my mind. Look, I already had it up.
All right, then. Good.
Yeah. Good. So, and this is March. Well, I think the initial one started. The mixer starts on March the 17th, but the main event is on March 18th, 2017.
Yeah.
Right. So this is our annual Power Summit. This is our annual meeting. This will be for the members, and the other part from 2 to 8. Everyone is more than welcome. So
there's also a page on the website with pictures of the presenters as well.
Oh, good. On the okay.
So if you go from the home page up top, and there's a link on the home page.
I'm going to wrap it up here, and like I said, we're going to get this audio part fixed in the future. So, but real quick, guys, please like this particular broadcast and subscribe, okay? And also click on the little bell so when we do live podcasts or broadcasts, you can sign like we are now. So, thanks again, guys. We appreciate you. We love you, and we'll talk.